Hello everyone, I'm back with my new video lecture. As you know, that in our previous video lectures, we have discussed the administration as whole. We even have discussed the POSDCORB and all the administrative duties in detail. So today we are going to discuss the qualifications of the administrator. It's very important that everyone recognizes the qualifications of a good administrator. And this is very essential to help determine whether or not one should go into the important field of endeavor if the occasion arises. So it will also help in evaluating the type of administration one is experienced in his own organization, whether he be an administrator or hold another position. There are various qualifications as far as an administrator is concerned, but there has been no attempt to list these in order of importance, although in the discussion of each one may be able to discern the most essential and the most important qualifications. So the first qualification is the administrative mind. Some individuals have a capacity which perhaps has been developed through training and experience and which peculiarly adapts them to administrative work. So these individuals, they are able to analyze the situations objectively. They have an ability to clarify the generalizations and possess the quality of administering in a constructive manner rather than in an exploitative way. So such persons, they are sensitive to human relations and the important part they play in the successful functioning of any organization. So these individuals having an administrative mind, they think in imaginative terms, they are able to see into the future and plan a course of action with an open mind. So they recognize the problems in order of importance, and they are also able to analyze a situation. They are also able to develop the various plans of action and reach the logical conclusions as well. So they have the ability to organize. This is what is meant by an administrative mind. So the persons who seem to have this capacity for administration, they should be identified and persuaded to assume the administrative responsibilities because they have one of the primary requisites. So this was the first qualification of an administrator, and the second qualification is integrity. One of the most important qualifications of any administrator is integrity. Whether or not a leader can inspire the staff, have their cooperation, and achieve the purposes of the organization will depend to a great degree upon his or her integrity. Everyone likes to feel that an administrator is honest and sincere, keeps promises, and can be trusted with confidential information, and is an individual in whom one has faith. So such confidence cannot emanate from administrators unless they have integrity. And failure to fulfill this one qualification will result in low morale and an inefficient organization. Third qualification is an ability to instill good human relations. The ability to get along with associates in work is an essential qualification for an administrator, and it's only through cooperative efforts is it possible for an organization to achieve its goals. This means that an administrator, he must be able to convert the abilities of many individuals into the coordinated efforts. So this is done in many ways, and some of these methods, they include setting a good example, inspiring the confidence, selecting proper incentives, making the right decisions, making right decisions in tense moments, having the impersonal attitude, and cooperating and helping others when necessary, and developing and practicing the ethical standards. So the administrator, he must be adept at the art of persuasion, which takes into consideration such important items as a point of view, interest, and other factors characterizing those to be persuaded. Our third important qualification is the ability to make decisions. The administrator, he or she must be able to make the decisions when the situation necessitates such action. So this presumes an understanding of what constitutes the important and the unimportant in the particular situation. Decision is very essential in order to accomplish the objectives. So the administrator, he or she should have the capacity and be willing to make the decision. Many times, if we see if a decision is not forthcoming, lethargy, suspense, and poor morale are created. So the cooperative process depends upon the decisions being made. It's absolutely necessary to ensure the decisions throughout the entire organization so that one can experiment in new and better ways of doing things and adapt successfully to changing conditions. So the administrator who procrastinates beyond a reasonable time, he or she surely is afraid of making the wrong decisions. He or she thinks only if his or her own security and is oblivious to the organization's needs should never hold such a position. Or one more important qualification is willingness to accept the responsibility. Every administrator must be willing to accept the responsibility. There are duties to be performed which greatly influence the welfare of many individuals, and plans have to be fulfilled if the purposes of the organizations are to be accomplished. So, action is required here to ensure the production and render services. So, the person who accepts an administrative job is morally bound to assure the responsibility that is part and parcel of that position. So, a good administrator, he will experience a feeling of dissatisfaction whenever he fails to meet the responsibilities. This is perhaps the good quality of an administrator. Next qualification is understanding of work. The administrator will benefit from having a thorough understanding of the specialized work in which the organization is engaged. And if it is education, being thoroughly familiar with the particular field will be an asset. So if he is a specialized field within education or other areas, it is necessary to have a knowledge of a particular specialty and also a part it plays in the whole process. It's very difficult to guide purposefully and intelligently unless the technical knowledge is present. So, together with an understanding of its relation to the activities and situations with which it is concerned. You know, One often reads out, like the congressman who started as a page in the Senate, the railroad executive who once was a yard worker, the bank president who started as a bookkeeper. We keep talking about these persons, but the technical knowledge, like technical knowledge and understanding of a total functioning of an organization, they are best gained through the first-hand experience. And an administrator will find that detailed knowledge of an organization's work is of great help in successfully guiding its operations. The one more qualification is the intellectual capacity. Intellectual capacity in itself will not guarantee a good administrator. Remember this. In fact, the so-called intellectual often makes the poor administrator. Such traits as absent-mindedness and non-punctuality are the compatible with acceptance of responsibility. So the intellectual sometimes cannot make decisions because he visualizes so many sides of an issue. Furthermore, such an individual is often not interested in people, but he is more often interested in books, in figures, or other data instead. So this makes a poor leader, since lack of interest in human beings result in a poor fellowship. However, you should not gain from this discussion that intellectual capacity should be regarded. To be a good administrator, one must be intellectually competent. So one should be, for example, an administrator here should be able to think and reason logically, so that he or she can apply the knowledge effectively to communicate efficiently, and he or she should possess other factors which are closely allied to the intellectual process. There have been so many, so-called the brains who failed miserably as administrators, whereas the most good administrators can usually be classified as at least average in respect to their intellectual capacities. So, these were all the important qualifications of an administrator. You can also include the good health and physical fitness of an administrator, as they are also essential for an administrator, and they often have a bearing on making the right decisions. So these were all the qualifications, and I think this is all for today. I'll see you again next week Till then, have a great time and take care of yourself. Thank you.